Wanted to make note of this because this is another trial that's going on contemporaneously with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. This just is something completely different, something that's going on in the general vicinity because it's just up the road a little bit in Washington, D.C., but this is the first, like it says here, Durham's first trial. The first trial that is stemming from any of the allegations and any of the reports that came out of the Durham probe that's currently going on. But Michael Sussman, one of the former lawyers from Perkins Coie, which was Hillary Clinton's campaign law office. You remember, you might know the story, okay? He was basically the guy who was feeding all the information to the FBI and the CIA that Trump was spying with Russia, and it's definitely the case. And yes, no, he's colluding with Russia. Actually, the only people colluding with Russia were the people associated with the Hillary Clinton campaign, and that's kind of why he's on trial this week. It started on Monday. It's just been kind of slow. The information coming out of this has just been trickling at a snail's pace. Clinton's side of this has been trying to fight this tooth and nail, and they just seemingly keep losing over and over and over again. And opening statements were very verbose, very blustery, but it just kind of lacked any substance. But of course, opening statements can be literally anything except for evidence-based testimony, so it can be as hyperbolic as it gets. But we're a weekend. Let's do a little refresher, shall we? As the trial of former Clinton campaign attorney Michael Sussman approaches, it's actually underway right now. The Epoch Times presents a comprehensive timeline of Sussman's activities before and after the 2016 election. The cybersecurity lawyer faces one count of lying to the government for allegedly claiming to an FBI official that he was providing information while not representing any clients, when in fact he was representing the Clinton campaign. As a result, he allegedly lied. The FBI was put at a disadvantage in grasping the politically laden and ethically fraught nature of the information, according to special counsel John Durham, who's been tasked with a review of the FBI investigation into the supposed collusion between Trump campaign and Russia to sway the 2016 election. The FBI investigation, partly concerned with the information provided by Sussman, discovered no such collusion. So I'll leave a link, obviously, with every article that we use. I leave a link in the description if you'd like to go through this in grave detail, but this runs down all the notable events of how everything transpired when Perkins Coie was brought on with the Clinton campaign, when the DNC knew about the collusion, when they called for it, who was spying, everyone who was involved, Michael Cohen, Mark Elias, Hillary Clinton, CIA, the FBI, the NSA, all those wonderful people, including Trump at his tower himself. Everybody was spied on. And eventually, yes, the trial started May 16th. So what do we know so far? Judge denies former Clinton's lawyer request for mistrial. Why? How did this come up? Federal judge on May 19th denied a request for mistrial from former Hillary Clinton campaign lawyer who is on trial for allegedly lying to the FBI. The U.S. District Court Judge Christopher Cooper, the Obama appointee overseeing the case, agreed to strike certain portions of testimony delivered Wednesday by Mark Elias, his former boss. How adorable, but rejected the request for mistrial. It's almost like that could have been planned. Maybe. Attorney for Michael Sussman, the lawyer who allegedly lied to the FBI, said Elias, another former Clinton campaign lawyer, still I'm pretty sure associated with the DNC itself, strayed into improper areas, prejudicing. Words are hard sometimes, prejudicing the defendant. There we go. When Elias was asked by the defense whether Sussman took information to Clinton rival Donald Trump for the to the FBI on September 19, 2016 on behalf of Clinton's campaign, Elias said, "From my standpoint, I would say no," but he also told the defense to ask Mr. Sussman. Portions of Mr. Elias's answer, namely, you'd have to ask Mr. Sussman, and on behalf of is a kind of subjective invented thing where non-responsive and prejudicial. Although Mr. Sussman was prejudiced even then, the defense declined to draw attention to the comment in the presence of the jury. A defense lawyer wrote in the motion filed later Wednesday, "Yeah, that's really funny because Mark Elias is still very much a lawyer and he knows what is proper and improper testimony, and yet he directly did that. Probably should sanction him pretty heavily." Under cross-examination by prosecutors with special counsel John Durham's team, Elias was asked about the topic 3 times. 2 defense objections were sustained, and after a 3rd time, Cooper directed prosecutors to move on to another question. I wonder what testimony and what objections we're talking about, because that's very misleading, and that's why these trials, the federal trials, are just so impossible to cover, because you don't get the proper context. You don't see anybody. All you do is just get these dry readouts. They objected to some questionings, they had an opportunity to change or rehab their questioning, and then eventually they couldn't get around it, so that their line of questioning was just torched by the judge. Mr. Elias' non-responsive testimony on cross-examination, as well as repeated improper questioning by the special counsel, directly suggested to the jury that in order to answer a key question in the case, whether Mr. Sussman went to the FBI on September 19, 2016 on behalf of client, Mr. Sussman would need to testify. Yeah, and that's a direct violation, calling for a direct violation of his 5th Amendment right. Elias knows. He knows. The special counsel and Mr. Elias are well aware the defendant in a criminal trial has a constitutional right not to testify. Yep. You have the right to remain silent. It's right there in the Constitution. Number 5 for a reason. Right after those weird ones where you can't, board an enemy soldier, whatever, and commenting either directly or indirectly on the defendant's decision to testify or not testify is entirely improper. Lawyers for Sussman are asking for the court to strike portions of Elias' testimony dealing with the matter, as well as 3 questions prosecutors asked. They also want permission to give transcripts to the jury during closing arguments that shows the testimony without the improper questions and answer. Yeah, no, that's actually fair, but why are they getting a transcript? That's weird. Or the jury would be getting a transcript and not just having to rely on their own memory and their notes. Whatever, must be a special decision that they made. Or maybe that's another one of those things, because this is a perjury trial or a truthfulness trial. Maybe that's why they get proper documentation. Maybe, I don't know. It's just very weird. Andrew DeFippolis, part of Durham's team, said that the government was very careful to avoid questions that would elicit an improper response, adding that it wasn't the government that prompted that response. Yeah, and exactly, if you were asking any improper questions, the opposing counsel could have objected to it as well, because this is lawyers on top of lawyers who work for the government, or at least are affiliated with the government at one point in time in one form or fashion. They should have the skills to be able to navigate this stuff. But more reporting from inside the courtroom. James Baker buries Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman in probe. Great. More people just taking the piss out of Michael Sussman. Former FBI official delivered devastating testimony Thursday against former Hillary Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman, saying he's 100% confident that the defendant denied acting on behalf of any particular client when he handed over since debunked information linking Donald Trump to Russia. I think it was pretty close to the beginning of the meeting. Part of the introduction to the meeting, former FBI General Counsel James Baker told the jurors in a Washington, D.C. federal court. Baker's account directly supports the sole charge against Sussman as a result of the special counsel John Durham's probe into the allegedly law-breaking connection between the FBI and Robert Mueller's probes of purported Trump-Russia ties. There's no purported ties there anymore. It's just done. It's dusted. Why would you even bother continuing to write that? Sussman, 57, is on trial for a single count of lying to the government. Yeah, that's nice. He should be under investigation for much, 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 much more. According to the indictment, the cybersecurity lawyers acting on behalf of the Clinton campaign and Rodney Jaffe, yes, another tech executive, all the players. He had the information of concern about the apparent surreptitious communications channels between Alpha Bank, which is described as being connected to the Kremlin and Russia. Yeah, just like, what was that, yesterday or something, where one of the former lawyers for Johnny Depp, he has ties to Putin, and then you take a look into it, he, worked with somebody in a legal capacity who's affiliated with Putin. Trust us, we promise, because he's Russian and stuff. But yeah, no, something's Russian, therefore it's affiliated with Putin. Got it. In some part of Trump organizations in the United States. Baker testified that he's 100% confident that he said that in the meeting. Baker also said Sussman's assertions, which included a text message the night before that he said he'd be coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or company, want to help the Bureau. led him to treat Sussman as a confidential FBI source. Yeah, exactly. We've known that for a long time. Sorry, I just want that off the screen because I feel like my life is in danger wherever I see the whites of the demon's eyes. The decision stymies efforts to compile a complete chain of custody. For 2 thumb drives of data that Sussman gave Baker, FBI agent Scott Hellman testified Tuesday. I do remember I was frustrated at not being able to ID who had provided these thumb drives to Mr. Baker. He was not willing to tell me, Hellman said. During Thursday's testimony, Baker said Sussman told him that a reporter was working on a study about the Alpha Bank data and that the threat of news coverage led him to take immediate action. It affects my thinking about the urgency of the matter because I know that if the news organization were to publish something about the alleged surreptitious communications channel, as soon as the article came out, the communications channel would disappear. Aw, poor guy, Baker told Assistant Special Counsel Andrew DeFilippis. Minutes after the meeting with Mr. Sussman, Baker said that he debriefed Bill Presiap, who at the time was the Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, about the Alpha Bank information. In a phone call with Presiap, Baker vouched for Sussman as a source, describing him as a serious lawyer. Press X the doubt, with background in cybersecurity, who previously worked in the Justice Department. Cool. Baker also alerted other top FBI officials, including Director James Comey, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and Tricia Anderson, a former FBI lawyer who oversaw legal support for its counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and cyber investigations. Anderson took notes of the meeting. She and Baker, which were also shown in court. No specific client, she wrote of Sussman. Yeah, no, exactly. He represented himself as an individual person who has very legitimate, very credible information that Trump was definitely working with Putin and he was 100% Vladimir's puppet. But the long and short of it is, no substantial information was ever found. It was all fabricated, and all that's left is really the crying. I guess we'll see what happens next week during trial. Don't know how long this is supposed to go on for, but it really does seem like a slam dunk case. Like, unless there's more shenanigans that are being pulled, I don't really see how they come out of this one. But it is federal court, and the only time that they ever bring charges against an individual person is when the case is just completely and utterly cut and dry. It's a total slam dunk because the feds have like a 95% conviction rate. So, oh well, Sussman, sucks to suck. But this is white-collar crime, so you might be spending a week and a half at Club Fed if you even bother doing fucking criminal time. But we'll see what happens. We'll touch back up with this next week. With all of that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.